welcome back. Episode 59, Michigan Mead Cup with Gail Milburn, take 2. So we're back this week after last week's technical difficulties. As you can see, we've got Gail on camera this time. We've been chatting for a few minutes. The stream is good. Although now that I say that, I expect my internet to drop or Jordan's or Ryan's. We'll have some issue.
Jordan had issues last week too, so
yeah.
So we were discombobulated last week, and we weren't really kicking off the show right. So I think since we're doing it over, we should stick with our system here, and let's actually get through what are we drinking, Gail, now that you're not sitting in your car in a parking lot at a lake.
I'm actually drinking this time. Bell's Lager the Lakes.
Oh,
Excellent,
good choice.
Is that really? It's not hazy enough to be a real beer, right? Like,
Oh my God.
What's going on there? Yeah. Oh, I love that beer. That's a Czech Pils, right? Or a Bohemian Pils or something, I think. Is that
I
right?
think it's a Bow Pils, but don't quote me on it. I'm just enjoying it right now.
Yeah.
I would give it the
love
Bohemian
beer.
Pills. What about you, Brian?
A little bit of the last bit of cider that I made with my neighbor Steve from Apples in His Backyard. So
Right on. Same thing.
Yeah. I got about maybe, I don't know, like an eighth of a keg left or something. So I'm gonna bottle some off and finish off the rest because I have another cider ready to get kegged. So,
There you go.
Jordan.
I've got a few things here, but starting off with the classic.
One day we're gonna get some advertising funds from Hams or something like that.
we should.
I really
Send
wish
us
that
free
we
beer.
were. I wish that we had like some kind of Michigan macro that we could fall back to, but it is sad that we're all like kicking Hams. I think it's from Milwaukee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
Land
wrong
of
with
sky
Hams.
blue water.
I actually have mead this time too, though. So I will be. I opened up a bottle yesterday. We had some friends over for Thanksgiving. God damn it! I told you guys I was tired for Halloween, and so I do have some mead open. I'm gonna get into that, but yeah, I'm with Jordan kicking the Hams.
Yeah, I've got some Oktoberfest to follow up afterwards, so that'll be my 1-2.
Right on. So it's been a few weeks now. Michigan Mead Cup took place October 16th, right?
Yep.
So I think where we started last time, we were trying to get into a little bit of the history of the Mead Cup. So if you wouldn't mind going through that again, Gail, if you could tell us kind of what the Mead Cup is and how that got started and what your part is in it, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So the Michigan Honey Festival started it in 2013. And I can't remember now if it ended in 2016 or 2017. In the last week, I was going to look it up, but, stuff happens.
Yeah.
So then we were left with no Mead Cup, and the Motor City Mashers started talking about, we've got a beer cup, we've got Glint Cap for cider. What about mead? We could do mead. So that's how it started. For 2018, 2019, and then, of course, last year, the year that didn't happen. And then again this year. So Motor City Mashers have been doing it for 3 years now.
Right on. And you guys, how many categories do you have like in mead? Is it just the 4 main categories and 1 through 4?
This year we had 13.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we also add on, so it's all of the subcategories within the, 4 categories of mead. So all the subcategories, but we usually end up combining a couple. This year we combined Braggot and Historical into one category. Other years it's been cider and Braggot, cider and Pyment have been together. So this year we were able to separate everything out. We had a really good spacing of entries. And then we've got the Michigan only category, which is unique to the Michigan Mead Cup. And that's Michigan Mead Maker, Michigan Honey, Michigan Ingredients only, with the exception of oak or yeast. So that's usually, a one flight category, 7 or 8 entries. And it's always really interesting to see what Michigan mead makers bring to the table.
Is that a category that persists year after year? There's always a Michigan only category. Okay.
Yeah. We felt pretty strongly that having so many good Michigan mead makers, and being the Michigan Mead Cup, we really needed to kind of showcase as many Michigan products, Michigan mead makers, Michigan honey as much as possible.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's I guess for anybody listening that wants to participate in that category next year, you have a heads up now. I didn't know that was a thing. This is my first year participating in pretty much any mead competition. So no, that's super cool. Okay.
And you did well, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
And that's any style as long as it's I'm assuming aside from the yeast, all Michigan ingredients.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeast and oak can be from anywhere. Everything else, any fruit, honey, that all has to be Michigan sourced.
Cool. Okay. What ended up? Do you remember what won that category this year?
I sure do. It was Matthew Mead's, the one that won Best of Show.
That was the cherry one, right?
Yeah. It's Michigan U Pick Balaton versus Montmorency is the title.
Okay.
And it won in Stone Fruit, Michigan only, and Best of Show. And I had the opportunity to judge it. We were down a few judges this year, so I ended up having to jump in to judge. Thankfully, even though I had to do a lot of the organizing, I was so busy that I don't remember who entered what, which is a blessing because then I can jump in and judge because I'm still blind to it.
Yeah.
And so we had to go and do Stone Fruit and a couple others. We did 3 categories the night before. And Sandy Cochran and I did it. Sandy's Grandmaster 8. And so we did the Stone Fruit. And I remember tasting this fantastic mead. And I mean, literally my eyes rolled back in my head. It was that good. And we both looked at each other and said, what on earth could we say about this? And I think I gave it a 47 or a 48. It's, I think, the highest score I've ever given anything. It was just amazing.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
It was just an amazing mead. Matt's a great mead maker. So, and actually, thankfully, he came out to steward, and I grabbed him to be a judge. He's got a great palate. So I judged with him at Beer Cup.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you judge mead out at Beer Cup too, or beer? Or okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of things.
What are your certifications as far as the BJCP goes?
I'm a Grandmaster 1, hopefully soon to be 2. I just found out yesterday I got my cider endorsement, and I'm a mead judge.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah. What as far as like progressing in the Grandmaster stage, like what's required as far as like points there?
So it's 240 points, and some of it is judging, like 100 judging points. But then there's also grading and service to the BJCP. I end up being the assistant exam director, so I send out all the pins and color cards and stuff. And I'm an assistant rep for the northern area, so that gives me additional service points. So it's pretty much what you have to do to go from Grandmaster, master to Grandmaster. You have to be willing to Get a lot of your free time.
A little bit of traveling, probably a lot
Yeah.
of traveling.
Yeah. You know, Sandy being an 8, she's been all over the country. She's been all over, Mexico and South America. That's what it
Really?
takes
Wow.
if you're really going to do that.
That's super cool. Yeah, we're really lucky to have some really amazing judges in the state here, for sure. Thank you for all of your volunteer time, for sure.
Oh, it's fun.
When did you get started with all this anyway? Like,
I started brewing in 2001, so
Okay.
20 years home brewing, and I think I took my first exam in 2004. So I've been a judge since then.
do you think the tests and guidelines? Well, obviously the guidelines have, but do you think like the tests and standards and stuff for judging have changed a lot in the last 15 years or so?
I don't really think so. I mean, the exam has changed for sure. It's a little bit easier in a way to get in to be like a recognized or certified judge, but it's kind of harder to become a national or master. So I got grandfathered in on my exam.
Can we talk about that for a sec? Because I don't know a whole lot about the BJCP program as far as like a judging perspective goes. Like, what does it take to be like, say, like a national judge? Is it it's not solely based on points at that point, right? You have to score above a particular amount on like the written exams too. Is that correct? Or
Yes. So to become a judge to begin with, I'll just go back to the beginning. You have
Sure,
to take an online exam within a timed period, and you also have to take a tasting test within a year of that online exam. So if you get, depending upon how you score there, then you start accumulating points by judging. And so then you would go up to, like, say you would start out at a recognized, even if you scored a recognized starts at 60 on your score of 60, certified starts at 70, national starts at 80. So say you score an 80 on your tasting exam, you still start out at recognized until you get 5 judging points, then you go to certified. But that's as high as you can go. Even if you get 350 judging points, you can't go any higher than that unless you take the written exam, which is a brutal exam. It's 10 questions, hour and a half, essay, and it's really hard. So if you score at least an 80 on the tasting exam at the lower level, and you have at least 20, I'm rethinking this, 20 judging points, then you can take the written exam and possibly go to national or master, depending upon how you score. So if you score in the 80s, then you'll be, with the appropriate amount of judging points, you'd be at national. 90 and above, you'd be a master with the appropriate points.
And then grandmaster is just points after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Points and service and all of those fun things.
Is that separate within cider, mead, and beer? Like you can be like go ahead.
So yeah, you can be a cider judge and not be a beer judge. So it's an endorsement, but you're a cider judge. You can be a mead judge, but you won't be a beer judge.
Can you be like a grandmaster beer judge and like recognized mead judge or something? Or okay,
those are just endorsements, so it doesn't matter how you score.
Okay.
The only thing that really helps you if you score really well on the mead or cider is if you want to proctor an exam or anything like that, then you have to score pretty high.
Okay. Yeah, my girlfriend Shayna has an amazing palate, and she'll probably hate me for even saying this, but last night she had a dream where she like lost her sense of smell and stuff. Like she had a dream where she got COVID, and she wasn't upset, about having COVID and potentially being sick. She was sad that she was never going to be able to be a beer judge. So that she woke up with that in her mind today. So yeah.
That's not a bad thing to aspire to.
Yeah. So we're gonna work on that maybe in 2020. Even the online exam's a little brutal. We were messing with some test exams and stuff, and you have to know your styles really well, history and all.
Yep, you do. Some of the questions could be pretty obscure.
See, I think that's what interests me more about it. Like, I'm good with like the knowledge of the beer style and the history and stuff, but I know I'm not a taster. I'm not. There's no way I would pass the century. We did off-flavor tasting a few weeks ago as a club, and I know I was watching people like gag or grimace on different ones, and I was like going, yeah, it's all right. I'm not a great.
That's me too, Jason.
Yeah.
I originally thought I was like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to go, and then I learnred that I am kind of blind to certain flavors, and not just like, oh, it needs to be, I just don't taste it at all.
But at the end of the day, you only have to get, is 60 the minimum to pass the tasting exam?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, you can probably walk away with a D, and be okay. And it's
there we go.
It's just points after that. Yeah.
Thanks.
I wish they gave you points for like how well you could taste something, because there's some off flavors like it's in the same room, I'm gonna taste it. But then, like there's others I could probably just drink the concentrate and not taste the thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you take those off-flavor classes, you can say, "Oh yeah, I tasted this last week at such and such a brewery," but I didn't think it's that bad then.
It's funny. We've had that conversation before too, where there's even regional tastes. Some of that stuff is acceptable or expected. I've talked to brewers before that's like, acknowledge that they have diacetyl in their beer, but it's the flavor that their patrons like, or and they change their processes to kind of clean it up. They got complaints, so it's sometimes it's just what people like. I mean, if you look at even some of the German styles, right, like Pilsners, I think have some perceived off flavor. There's some, well, you know better. There's some certain styles where it's acceptable to have, right? Some
at low levels, yeah.
Yep. So back to the Mead Cup. How many entries did you guys judge this year?
We judged 158.
Wow.
Right, or 160, 158 we judged.
With how many judges?
Not enough.
Yeah, never enough, probably.
I had 22 signed up. 3 did not make it. I pulled in Matt, so 20.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was hoping for at least 24. Especially with mead, you want to keep the flights pretty small because you don't want people staggering out at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, trying to keep them down around 6, 7, 8 at the very maximum. And that's kind of hard to do with that few judges. And the judges that I lost were, good judges, high level. So that happens.
Is that size kind of typical for what you've done in the past, or did you guys have to cut back this year for COVID?
We didn't cut back, but we didn't expand, which is what I had hoped to do. We started, I think, at 150 last year, or 2019. I'm always going to say last year because
I get it.
Yeah. So 2019, I think we had 165, and I think of that 163 or something we judged. By this year, my plan was to include pro meaderies, so it would be professional and amateur, but there's just no way. With COVID and people not wanting to travel and still, not a huge expansion in mead judges. There's just no way. One of the things with the Mead Cup that I was insistent upon when we took it over is that we have to have good judges. We can't just have, anybody who doesn't, who might be a good beer judge come in and judge mead, because it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And any good mead maker will tell you beer judges, fall apart when they taste mead a lot of times. They just don't get it.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to be able to say that we would have at least one mead judge and one BJCP judge on each flight, and that, we'd have the highest level that we could possibly have. So we had, Grandmaster 8, we had 2 Grandmaster 1s, we had quite a few nationals. So it worked out pretty well, considering.
Yeah, I think if you were to step up and open a commercial level, man, you'd. I think I looked at Glint Cap. They do that non-commercial and commercial division, and the commercial division, it was like over 1,500 entries. So I think if you stepped into that realm, you're going to have to support it, or even putting a low entry level, I think you'd probably just irritate more people. So.
Yeah, the original Mead Cup was professional and amateur.
Really?
And they just had Mazer Cup, which is the big international mead competition out in Colorado. They just did that last week. And they get 800 or 900 professional entries from all over the world. And it's just incredible. They did it with 30 or 40 judges for 5 days. 3 and 4 sessions a day. That's brutal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nuts. We tried really hard to get it all done in one day, but this year there was just no way. So, but it worked out. It worked out.
I don't think I told you this last week, but you mentioned Mazer Cup. I think it was maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe just a month ago. I was out at Ken Tram's farm doing a tour out there, and he was the one that gave us the tour. And I mentioned that we were going to talk to you in a month, and if he knew you, and he goes, "Oh, I know Gail." Ask me if I love Gail. So you have a big fan in Ken Tram.
He's got a big fan in me, I tell you. He supported us so much the first year that we took it over, and he was just, what a lovely man. Love that guy.
It was the first time I'd ever talked to him. He is a talker. He is very passionate, just the most passionate person I've talked to about anything, his fruit, his farm, just if Sarah hadn't pulled him away, he would have turned our 1 hour tour into a whole day thing. I think it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, hopefully we can get him on someday. I think we've talked to him a little bit about it, right? So
I told him I didn't want to bother him while his harvest season is still going on and stuff. The dude's breaking his back right now, doing everything he can anyway. I'll wait till there's snow on the ground, and
there you go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he will be on. He definitely agreed to come on and talk to us about anything we want. I told him he could just go nuts, but yeah. So maybe in January or something, I'll try to schedule it up. But
that'd be
that
cool.
would be great.
Mm-hmm.
He's so knowledgeable.
Yeah, and he's so friends with him on Facebook. Just watch what he does, and he's so supportive of the community, and even out competitors. It doesn't seem like he cares. He's really endorsing the industry and that sense of community. There was the flooding earlier in the year in New Jersey, and I know he was doing a lot of campaigning for help for those meaderies that were impacted out there. So just really cool stuff.
Yeah, it is a community.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Sorry, Jason, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Oh, okay.
No,
you mentioned the whole community aspect, and it really does feel small. Like a lot of people like in these Facebook groups know each other, and there's names that you see all the time, not only in competitions, but just like the helpful people. You're like, oh, I know that name, and I know he's somebody that seems to always give really good advice. And
Tom Repas.
yeah, I see his name all the time.
He's amazing.
Is he from Michigan?
He is from Wyoming.
Okay. You'll know his profile picture because he has a beard full of bees, basically. Like
The bee beard.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's very cool. It feels like I'm starting to homebrew all over again a little bit, just because I don't know a whole lot. And you start digging for information, you keep seeing the same names pop up again and again. So yeah, it's neat.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, making mead seems like it's a lot harder than making beer. I think there's probably more honeys out there than there are really types of malt to brew with. And then on top of all that, fruit and spice are far more widely utilized in mead than they are in beer. Outside of hops, but
yeah. I went through and I actually wrote down the kinds of honeys that we had. Do you want to hear some of them?
I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is amazing. And this is the Michigan Mead Cup, right? Little old Michigan Mead Cup. We had hickory blossom, star thistle, meadow foam, tupelo, buckwheat, orange blossom. Okay, pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
We had Zambian, lahua, leatherwood, pumpkin blossom, fireweed, coffee blossom, Brazilian honey. We had pink peppercorn, snowberry, blueberry, basswood, mango blossom, quince blossom.
Oh, wow.
Avocado blossom. I mean, like, really?
Yeah, sure.
That's
so
nuts.
Brian, almost all of yours made the second list there, I think, right? Like that. Brian's doing all this weird shit with it, Gail. I think you had the coffee blossom and the lahua blossom and the what was the other one?
I have a coconut blossom, lahua, snowberry, Christmas berry.
The snowberry.
Yeah. Some of those other ones there, and they all taste different. Shane and I will go downstairs and try honey, and it's just like, it's crazy.
It's really neat, the different flavors, and it's the same thing. When we talked to Andrew Blake and did the cider episode, as a new home brewer or a new cider maker, you don't realize there's hundreds of different varieties of apples, and that the blending of the apple varietals is really what brings it out for the cider, and and you're building that palate just like you're using malts. And so I think it's similar with honey. Although I don't really hear too much about blending different honeys, but it's just neat to see the different varietals that are out there and the different flavor profiles that they bring. So it's really cool.
I don't know too much about it, and Gail can definitely speak more to this. But I've listened to interviews with like Carvin Wilson, who's a very prominent mead maker and judge, and I think he's the organizer of the Macer Cup released this year. But I've listened to interviews with him talking about blending honeys, and it's just it's a thing. You can just like blending sour beer or anything else, you can come up with flavors that you wouldn't be able to really get otherwise. And
he's a master at blending honeys.
Yeah, I couldn't even do it.
The stockpile of honeys that he has, his wife is a saint. She really is. Robin is the nicest woman, and she puts up with him having like a room in their house that is just shelf after shelf after shelf of different honey varietals. It's amazing.
Shane, I hope you're listening to this show.
She usually is, isn't she? She's out in the other room at very least.
I'm waiting for her to walk through that door over there.
And just say no. Oh man. So how did the I just lost where I was going. So you had 160 that you judged this year. Um, in the Mead Cup, is it just one medal per category, or one of each medal for category, or is it over a certain score gets a medal?
So
How do you guys do that?
we do per subcategory. We do the three, first, second, third. So we had 13 categories for three, and then just best to show is only one.
Right on. And then do you guys do the big trophy at the end?
Well, we do have a different medal for best to show, and they get a nice little prize from Dutch Gold. Dutch Gold Honey sends out what used to be a big 60-pound bucket of some bizarre varietal, really nice honey. This year they couldn't do it, the economy and whatever.
Yeah.
So they sent out, I believe, 6 5-pound three different kinds of honeys to Matt, who won best to show.
It's still
So
amazing.
Still
Yeah,
really
that's super
nice.
cool.
Yeah, really nice.
I was really just joking on it, Gail, because Michigan State Fair Homebrew Festival, they do the big giant cup. And we were talking earlier where you always say last year, and I'm the same way. It's the last year. It doesn't matter if it was really last year. So to carve that out on their trophy, they actually did put on the plaque, they put a marker for 2020 and named COVID as the winner of the festival for that year.
I didn't know that. That's the first I've heard that. That's
Well
awesome.
done.
Yeah, I walked up. So we Brian and I were there to stream that the award ceremony on that one,
and collect our awards
and collect and get all of our awards. And I remember walking up to it and seeing the plaque, and it said COVID 2020. I cracked up. I'm like, that was the best. So I'm just seeing if anybody else did that.
Yeah, that's.
I wanted to. I know at our club out here, because we missed all the competitions, I wanted to buy like a box of gold medals and just have them all engraved with 2020 homebrew champion. Just give them out to everybody.
That'd be awesome. The first year that we did it in 2018, the Glass Academy in Dearborn, they did this beautiful chalice, blown chalice for us for best to show. That was definitely a really nice prize. And
Oh, yeah.
we also had the Dutch Gold too, so that was a good year.
Yeah. The Mazer Cup does that for their awards, right? Like little bowls or something, like little cups or something.
It's a pottery, kind of like a pottery bowl chalice.
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
No, that's neat. So when we talked last week, briefly, before the tech god said no.
Which time that we were talking?
Good point. But you mentioned that this was your last year in the Mead Cup, right? So tell us about that. You're moving on, huh?
It's my last year being the lead organizer.
Okay.
So the Motor City Mashers are going to keep it. I'll be helping out for sure. I just don't want to. It's been kind of a one-person show for the 3 years. I mean, I've had a ton of help, but it kind of comes down to one person doing a lot of the stuff. And as you saw, I don't have very good internet connection up north. And the week before Mead Cup, or 2 weeks before Mead Cup, I had gone up there and I thought, oh, sure, I'll be able to get stuff done and I can just go up to the public library if I need to, hop on my laptop and I can just do some things. It was like 4 and 5 hours a day. I was having to go up to the library on my laptop It's like I can't do this, so it just doesn't work for me to do it long distance. So I'll help out.
I get that too. We've joked around about it because we I try to organize this one little tiny competition for my club, and it's a kind of a huge pain in the ass. And and last year it's like 20 entries, and it was just a nightmare. So I couldn't imagine. I have this dream someday of doing a larger competition, and I'm trying to help out more with Beer Cup and things like that. But yeah, there's just so much that goes into this behind the scenes, the organization and just keeping it all straight. So my hat's off to you. You guys, the guys that do this and pull this shit off every year after year. It's amazing the effort that goes into it.
The people that have helped with the organization, they've just been amazing. Annie Zipser has these contacts and finds us Brewery Becker this year, which was just a wonderful place to have a competition. They were so welcoming, and it was just a great setup. She's reached out to different mead makers, different honey producers for us. Amy Olson helped a couple of years ago with getting Kunin on board. We had Bee Nectar the first year. Sandy's been great with doing a lot of the liaison with judges, and she liaison with Blickman. And every year we get fantastic raffle prizes, which you guys don't even know about the raffle prizes that we have for judges and stewards. It's just amazing. So 3 years in a row, Blickman has sent us beer guns. This year, in addition, this year they also sent Anvil burner. They sent an Anvil scale, a gram scale. They sent stainless steel valve, a Brew Vision. I know I'm missing like 3 or 4 of the big things that they sent. And it was like prizes that were worth, retail. We're talking over $600 retail.
Yeah.
That they sent
that's
us,
amazing.
Just for our raffle. And so, the people the companies that have reached out and sponsored us, either sponsored the categories or sponsored the whole competition or sent us things to raffle off. It's been incredible.
Yeah, and you guys, the action that you had on that was pretty intense. You got good penetration because I think Brian messaged us like, "Hey, let's sponsor a category for Michigan Beer Cup," and then I don't know, it was a couple hours later where we all saw the message and was like, "Yep," and they were gone. So
yeah, they were.
Yeah.
It never ceases to amaze me. Every time we ask for a little bit of help, we get just a ton of
outpouring. Yeah,
a ton of support. And we had to buy medals this year, so we've got medals now for 2 or 3 years. And so the category sponsorships really helped with that. And it was just so now we're set on medals for a couple of years.
no, cool.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And I can't say enough for all of our sponsors, people that stepped up and folks I had never had any contact with that wanted to reach out and support us.
Well, Gail, I'm going back in the chat here for a sec, and I want to make sure that I'm snagging some of these. You have a fan in Danny. So I still haven't checked my score sheets to see if you judged any of mine, but you have fans for sure. So
I say this too, and I think we talked about it last week after you dropped off, but you judged one of my beers in Beer Cup, and it was great feedback. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that you put in there and the comments and yeah, I mean, we've all gotten feedback before that is subpar, good beer, or I forget the national one we got, Brian, wasn't it? Keep Brewing. Thank you. That
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people argue that at the national level you shouldn't expect too much feedback, but I disagree. I think if you're in a competition, you should be able to get feedback from everybody. And on your sheet, I think it might be the first beer that you ever judged, or my beer that you ever judged. But man, yeah, you gave me a lot of great notes and comments, and so I appreciate it. You give great feedback, so thank you.
Well, it's probably a bunch of BS. No, I'm kidding.
It is, because you didn't pick out the Fruit Loops, so
that's it. See,
yeah.
I'm a fraud. I think, what I try to also at the Mead Cup, what I try to really emphasize with judges is people paid really good money to get your feedback, and it's incumbent on you to give it to them. It might be a great mead, but you better say why.
Yeah.
And it might really suck, but you better tell them why and what maybe they should do differently next time. I've seen some really high level judges come back with, appropriate malt, in a beer. It's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You're whatever level you are, and you're just coming back with that. I don't need it, and I don't ever want the Mead Cup to be that.
Totally agree. Brian and I do a presentation for our club, a couple of clubs now, I think, where we talk about how to brew for competition, and we talk about feedback and what to do with that feedback. And, I've got a beer, sure, sometimes you get crappy feedback. Sometimes you get, right malt or keep brewing or whatever. But, I've got a beer that was one of the first beers that I brewed when I first started brewing. It scored an 18. It sucked. I'm surprised it didn't write, quit brewing on the sheet. But I was lucky, and I had a judge that gave me feedback and things I could action on. They started talking about using, it was a stout, so they were talking about using less bittering malts and just ways to tweak it. And I kept rebrewing it, resubmitting it, resubmitting it, and based on that feedback, it's gone from an 18 to, regular mid to high 40s and being my most bottled beer. And it's all because of the feedback that I get from the judges. And so that feedback is so critical and important. You guys really, we encourage our club to participate in competitions so that they can become better brewers. And, but the other side of that is the judges have to, bring that. And I've seen it happen the other way too. I've seen people enter a competition and get crappy feedback the first time, and then they're like, I'm done with this shit. So that's disappointing too. So it's important what you guys do, and yeah, that's amazing that you can take the time and give us that feedback to help Brian make better mead. God damn it.
or Danny, who just chimed in.
Or Danny.
Yeah. Gold medal winner.
You got some more stuff in comments and chat, right, Brian?
Yeah. We have a question from Lisa, and I'm going to preface this a little bit. So of the people on stream right now, which guy has the best beard?
You cheating bastard.
Oh, perfect.
You don't like that?
No, Brian, you're a loser. Look, we all know it's Jordan. It is what it is, Lisa. So I don't know, Gail, if you have a different opinion, but
I'm just Jordan's got
Jordan's got the white,
Yep.
Yeah, but see, I feel like that just ages me, man. Like, and you're older than me, bastard.
So there you go, Lisa. It's Jordan. Anyway, I thought there was another question, but that's it. So yeah, we had Danny on. Danny's from Motor City Masters with you. He was on a few weeks ago. So thanks for tuning in again, Danny.
Welcome back, Danny.
Yeah. So what advice, seeing and judging the competition and talking about the feedback and kind of what you go through, like, is there a common flaw or mistake that you would pick out that you see that, might be just, that one bit that new mead makers should focus on or watch for?
when I first started judging mead, that would be a very easy question to answer. The level of mead making right now is amazing, and it's head and shoulders above anything I'd seen even a few years ago. So I think if you would ask me that a few years ago, it would definitely be temperature control and nutrients. Temperature control for a mead is much different than it is for a beer, unless, it's more like a lager, really. You want to ferment low and slow, and you want to use appropriate nutrients. Well, what does that mean? And that science keeps evolving over the years, and now it's pretty good with either organic nutrients or inorganic nutrients. There's all kinds of good calculators online that you can find to help out with that. And people are really, they're following that in the kind of meads that they're making. My first mead was something like dry cleaning fluid.
Mhm.
And,
Yep.
I didn't use any nutrients, and so it came out like dry cleaning fluid. And now that's a flavor that I rarely taste now.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
It is.
I know that coming as a person who is, just venturing into mead making, I've had a few of those where it's constantly learning, kind of switching from brewing beer more to, meads and ciders a bit more now. And yeah, it's a little bit of a different beast with the fermentation. Like now I'm thinking like I haven't classically had fermentation control. We talked about this last week. But yeah, now I think that's my next big project is, getting something to actually control those firm temps for making good meads. Dive into more water chemistry if I'm going to be adding water to it, nutrient additions, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's different. It opens your eyes a bit more. It's a lot more delicate.
I agree. I think you can mess up beer a lot easier. Well, I should say you can mess up beer and it's not as noticeable.
Yeah.
You mess up mead and it's just going to hit you in the face.
And you're out arguably more in a lot of cases. The expense that goes into a mead is often significantly more than a beer. And but yeah, we talked about that last week. After and it's something I've never done either. I've been brewing for I think getting close to 10 years, and I've never done temperature control. And I've been a successful or semi-successful home brewer. But my first mead, and I've only done 3 meads in my entire time brewing, but my first mead, I did that. I threw honey and water and yeast in a bucket and got some horrendous shit.
Yeah,
I still have some of my bottles from 2017. I'll break them open sometime.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the last one that I did, which I think is actually palatable, is one because Brian actually helped me and was like, "No, do this," and here's your yeast nutrient schedule, and here's how you get through this step. And still didn't do temperature control, but Jordan and I think, are both have come to the realization that that's our next thing that we need to do.
Well, yeah, it's just going to improve not only meads but beers as well. So
yeah.
Across the board.
It's really the last thing I have to do. When you look at like what can I do to get better, which I feel, before Brian really started showing up, I really felt like I was doing fine. But now I got him out here kicking my ass, so I've got to figure out, all right, how do I get back on top of Brian? And that's the only other piece that I've got. So other than just sneaking in his house and spiking his kegs, which it's not off the table. So
sometimes that door does stay unlocked. So there
it is for the internet to know.
While I have you, Gail, I have a style specific question.
Uh-oh.
It's fine. I think you'll be able to answer it. It's more just, is this in the spirit of entering it in the right category? So I got 5 gallons of pear juice from a local cidery not too long ago, and I'm making a mead with it. it tastes a heck of a lot like cider. And I think once it's done, it's going to taste a heck of a lot like a Sizer. But should it actually be a Melomel because it's pear? What's the the answer there? Should I enter it as what it tastes like or what it was actually brewed with?
At what it tastes like.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to be like deceptive or anything like that. That's like the one thing I don't want to do. So
yeah, if it really does come across like a Sizer, call it that. And it's the same with beer. If you put vanilla in and you can't taste the vanilla, don't say you put vanilla in it.
It's in the presentation Brian I wrote, and I forget which book I got it out of. But it was, don't enter the beer you brewed. Right? Don't enter the recipe that you brewed. Enter the beer that you made, or whatever, however you say that, and taste the beer and actually figure out what it should be. Not, and we've given that out before. Like if we had a guy that was I brewed a Doppelbock. Well, that's not a Doppelbock. You enter it as a Doppelbock and it got shitty, ratings and stuff. So that's good to know. It fits with me too. And I've never put Fruit Loops down on.
And it's a good thing you didn't in that Berliner Weiss.
Somebody's going to call you out on this at some point, Jason.
I know it's been around so
it's
much
all on
now.
The internet now,
but it's tradition at this point. God damn it! And it is. I have to keep.
It's a Berliner loop.
And that was a very good Berliner Weiss.
It's done all right. Yeah, no, I mean, for a plain Berliner Weiss. So here's my theory on it. Just talk about myself for a minute. I always get my ass kicked because the categories usually get looped in with lambics, fruit lambics. So I do well enough to make it to the final table, and then I always get passed over for a fruit lambic. So one of these days I'm going to fruit it or something to make it stand out. But I don't know. As a Berliner Weiss, I think it is good. I agree. It's a solid, classic example of style. So many national judges have said that. Like every time I get feedback back, I don't remember if you wrote that or not. But every time I get feedback back, it always says like classic example of style. With a box
if it's the one that I'm thinking of, because there were two left on the table, and if it's the one that I'm thinking of, yes, it was a very good Berliner Weiss. It had that really nice kind of bready, light, fluffy character that should be there, and those Fruit Loops. So they make some good Berliner Weiss.
I've brewed it once without, and I'll never brew it without again. It sucked. It didn't have the spirit in it, it just wasn't there. So
didn't have the love. Yeah.
The love.
Yeah.
The gray matter.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The mash for that beer is gray, right? Like it comes out gray.
It's a journey. It comes out with the mash is out gray. With all the food coloring in it, and then after boil, I think it's blue. Some of the browns fall out, and then after kettle souring, it's green because the blue dye is heavier and that falls out. And then after boiling, all the dye breaks down and it comes out a really beautiful straw color, crystal clear. It is a really beautiful beer once it's done. But man, when I first started brewing, it was like, holy shit, what did I do? Because it is very interesting. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And it makes for a very pretty mash. Like your mash is all orange.
You're never not entertained on your brew day. Yeah.
No, we got to make a mead now with Fruit Loops.
I saw somebody. I can't remember if it was the Modern Mead Makers Facebook group or if it was on Reddit. But somebody just started a mead with blue Skittles, and it started off a nice bright blue color, and now it's really green because probably a pH change as the yeast are starting their starting to buffer their environment. And I don't know if that's going to all drop out or not, or if it's going to be like a weird green yellow color. I don't know. I hope to see updates, but we'll see.
You mentioned the
imagine it looking
Skittles.
like slime?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to find this article. But you mentioned Skittles. This was years ago. So the company that manufactures Skittles had an error in their machinery, and it wasn't. I believe the issue was it wasn't printing the S on the candy, and so they threw out. They couldn't reuse it, and it was too much money for them to rerun it or whatever they do, and so they threw the Skittles out. And I think it was all red and green or something like that. And the article went on that there was and I'm going to get this word wrong, an apiarist, whatever. There was an apiary that was in the area or that had deployed bees in the area, and the bees went out and did what they were supposed to do. And when they cracked open the hives to collect the honey, it was all red and green honey, because the bees, they're creatures of opportunity. Right. And so rather than going to flowers, they were like, here's this big dumpster full of sugar. And the bees were just hitting the Skittles to bring back to the hive. And I will find the article. I'll try to post it on the page.
Could you imagine being that beekeeper? Cracking that shit open, it looked like the hive's bleeding. Just like, what is going? What god did I anger?
What was in that cream of mushroom soup I had for lunch?
Yeah, exactly. What type of mushrooms were those?
Okay, hold on. I actually think I found it quicker than I expected to. God, I hope there's a picture. All right, let me try to share my screen. Share
Skittle Blossom.
Share screen. Chrome tab, window. Add a stream.
Whoa!
And so this
that
was
one looks like chocolate.
It was in France. So colored honey made by candy-eating beans. And I'm sorry, it wasn't Skittles. It was M&Ms.
Oh, M&M shells. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't. Ad blocker. Anyway, you saw it. It was a thing. Go Google it. M&M honey. And you saw it. I don't know if you saw the green one on the end. It was.
Yeah, I saw the. Did the brown one come out because they ate the chocolate? Is that what?
I don't know.
Because that just now I have questions. Did the chocolate flavor, was that retained in the honey? Like, because that would be.
It was back in 2012. It was in Mulhouse, France. I remember. It's been a long time since I read this email or read this article. But I really did think it was Skittles, but it was M&Ms. So
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
One of the strangest meats that I ever had was, I can't ever say this properly, butterfly pea blossom.
Oh, yeah.
Which changes, of course, with pH. And, it wasn't pink, it wasn't purple, it wasn't blue, it was gray. And it was the weirdest looking thing I'd ever had. And it tasted kind of gray.
They tasted gray, like the color.
It kind of tasted gray.
Just like a rainy day.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
So we've had members make beer with that flour before. And in beer, it's beautiful. I mean, David Jones, the president of Keepers of Clafton, he always does the most unique names in our club, I think, and I believe he called it Smurfette's Lady Parts. But it was blue in the glass, and when you got it in your light, it was purple and pink and shimmery, and it was really, it's really cool effect in beer. But I could see in honey where that kind of would all mush together, probably in a way that wasn't pleasant.
It was kind of like a Fruit Loops mash.
Oh.
I
called
mean,
out.
you scored. You gave it a good score, so there's no walking it back now, Gail.
You're gonna question every Berliner you ever drink for the rest of your life, though.
That's it.
It's one of my favorite beer styles to drink and brew. So I did really enjoy it.
I can see next year you're going to step into that category, and my comment's going to be not this time. This.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I wish
it'll
I
be
could.
some random person's.
Yeah.
And I'll get an email. What the hell?
That would be even better. Yeah, even better.
Complaining about the judges again. Who are you calling this?
Speaking of this, I'm sorry. This is like one of my fidget toys. I didn't mean to like actually flash a knife at you. I fidget sometimes. I flip it open and shut. But
Brian, I just want to say, like, I also have one next to me that is my fidget toy.
You guys are violent. I apologize, Gail.
I think it was maybe it was some competition this year. I made a beer with lemon cookies, a whole package of lemon cookies, and I sent it out as a Katharina sour beer because I added like lemon zest to it too. And I think it got like a 41 or a 42. And one of the judges was like, please email me with what fruit you used in this beer because like I've never tasted anything like it. And I haven't emailed him because I just can't break it to him that I used like lemon cookies in the beer. But
so the moral of the story, it goes back to again, enter the beer that you brewed, not the recipe that you made.
Yep.
This is going to turn into a whole new BJCP style, just cookie beers. That's
it's going to be mystery beer. Like, yeah, it's going to be one style where you have to guess, like what weird ass ingredient was in here.
Packaged adjunct style.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I know a lot of people that put stuff in like that, and they'll enter it in experimental. But again. Mm-hmm. It wasn't an experiment. I mean, it was an experiment that led to it, but the final beer product was a Berliner Weiss, and so it wasn't.
It didn't taste like Fruit Loops. It didn't taste like lemon cookies. Yeah,
it actually did taste like Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops taste like lemon.
Okay,
they're all one flavor.
No, I refuse to believe that.
They are all the same flavor.
No, every single one.
I feel like we need to do a blind taste test live on stream now.
All right, Gail, we're getting way the fuck off topic now.
Before we get back on topic, Gail, this weekend, guests prior to you and Jordan, Jason, and I are brewing a Michigan shrimped IPA, and we would be more than happy to send you a bottle. If you would like, so.
Oh boy!
Yeah. Oh, for judging, that would be great.
Yeah.
He undersold it. It's a coconut shrimp IPA.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Drew and Denny did. What was it? Clam chowder.
Oh.
Clam chowder beer. At NHC out in San Diego a few years back. And it was actually okay. It was drinkable. And then, I think we should maybe have a category of just weird things. I don't know if you guys know Dan Fick, brewer. He works for Coonan now. He's one of their distillers, and he's been a long time brewer, mead maker.
Yep.
So Fick entered a mead that ended up going to Best of Show, and he said it was an orange blossom varietal. Well, what it was sugar, fermented sugar water, and he back sweetened it with a little bit of orange blossom, and it went all the way to Best of Show. And I remember saying, this really doesn't have enough orange blossom character, and so something else took Best of Show. And it ends up, he goes, this is how I did it, and he called it Hey Gotcha or something like that.
Wow.
Anytime I have anything that Vic makes now, it's like, wait a minute, what is it really?
So
I think
so
that would be a
he took
great
off some of his
category.
wash because he said he's a distiller, right?
Yeah, this was before I was distilling,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, basically the same thing.
I was just gonna say, like, he took a sugar wash and tried to make a meat out of it.
It was
Oh,
basically the same thing.
that's funny.
I think it would, and maybe I'll mention it to Nikki and see if we can pull it off. But it would be fun to have like a outside of the normal category where we're gonna do just some crazy shit like that, you know. And I know he just left to grab probably some more beer, but you know, Brian and I have fantasized for a couple of years now about doing an aw juice IPA, which is a beef roast aw juice.
A beef
slash-
roast
or,
New England IPA.
New England IPA. You know, and we haven't. We keep talking about it. We've done a couple of iterations in recipe designs, like how are we going to capture, you know, citrus and the spirit of a New England and still have the meaty umami of the roast. And these are well thought out recipes, whether or not it's going to be complete trash, but that's fine. But it would be fun to have something like that. I know it wasn't you guys, right? A couple of years ago, somebody, either you or the club next to you, did bean soup, right? For gang beer. Do you remember that at beer camp?
I remember bean soup.
I don't know if you might not have been there.
That was Ann Arbor.
Well, that's not Motor City Mashers. Sorry, you're right. It was Ann Arbor. It was AABG. Did bean soup.
Was it one of Michael Bryan's?
But it was for the gang beer a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
they picked their ingredients to be that, you know, garlic and onion and white bean. And it was the year that we had, like, one of the options was that you had to use like an alternative brewing style. There were some people that did, you know, like no boil, or some did, you know, natural fermentation or whatever. And theirs was wood fire. They brewed it in a copper kettle on a campfire.
It was Mike O'Brien and Matt Becker probably did it.
Yeah, I don't know the names, but it was exactly what it said it was. It wasn't a horrible beer. You know, and then we have a member in our club that did a kielbasa Oreo stout beer one year. Ron. Thanks for reminding us of that, Ron. But no, someday Brian and I will pull off au jus. But the shrimp IPA though, that came up because we do every once in a while we do recipe design episodes where we just brainstorm different ideas, you know, what the recipe would be. And some friends of ours are the smart asses that threw out coconut shrimp. In chat, and so we did design. They're the couple that shot our cool intro and outro. They did that for us for free of charge. So we humored them with and we wrote the recipe for a shrimp IPA. And then now finally Saturday we're getting together. I got my Louisiana dried shrimp, and we're gonna get together. We're making them come out and brew that with us. So we will be dry shipping coconut IPA this Saturday.
Do we have the panko already?
No, I need to pick that up.
I can get it too. I forgot that was part of the recipe. Honestly, I need to pull up that recipe.
Yeah, let me know if I need to pick anything up from the store. Just let me know. I'll grab it.
I don't know how this is going to work because I have the blur on my camera, but I was just scrolling through my phone. There it is. That is a mash tun full of Fruit Loops. So
it looks pretty.
Oh. I don't think I've seen that before.
It kind of looks like stir fry from this angle.
Yeah. Well, what's next in store for Mead Cup? Or since we keep bouncing all the hell over the place, is there? You're going to be out next year. Do you expect any big changes, or do you think the mashers are going to be able to up the? If you say it here now, Gail, you kind of commit them to it. So whatever you want.
You know, I don't put anything past those guys.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That I know. Everything they do is a lot of fun. So I'll try to keep them on task, but yeah, it'll be great. They're going to do great.
Yeah, no, we look forward to it. I'm debating. I go back and forth. I feel like I have too many hobbies and too many things right now, but I really enjoyed making the one mead that I made this year, and I almost entered it that day, but then I thought I didn't want to take anything off or take it away from somebody else. But Brian inspires us, and so we'll stroke his ego a little bit more. You took how many medals in mead this year?
5.
Okay, good for you. And you took a gold at the Michigan Mead Cup, right? You took 2 at Michigan Mead Cup.
No, 1 at Michigan
Just
Mead
one?
Cup. I took a bronze, silver, and a gold at Valkyrie's Horn, and then a gold at Michigan Beer Cup.
Was it your Marionberry, I think, wasn't it? That won gold at Mead Cup?
Marionberry was gold at Mead Cup and took silver at Valkyrie's Horn. Yep. I think roughly 20-something entries in Berry for each of those. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's quite an accomplishment. There's some great mead makers in those categories. I mean, very, very accomplished guys and women.
Yeah.
You're going to take a run at Mead Maker of the Year next year, right?
Maybe 2023 or something. I think I mentioned this last year, and this might have been after Gail left, but to make a run at Mead Maker of the Year is expensive. You have to have a lot of mead for all those competitions and all the shipping and the entry fees. So I want to make sure I want to have a lot of meads available to ship and stuff. And that's the reason it enters Mazer Cup this year. I didn't have any mead left to enter. Like, I sent all my stuff that I bottled away. So
actually, now I remember we were sitting at Bell's with Gail, and we talked about you entering, and you decided to enter, and you pulled the stuff you had planned for Mazer Cup to go to Mead Cup.
Yep.
So
yep, and I'm glad I did. I have no regrets at all. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that was good mead. Good meads.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think, Brian, you're right. It's very expensive. It's energy. It's time, and just so much goes into Mead Maker of the Year. Yeah.
I think that's why, like, I appreciate the judges even more so than a lot of these beer competitions. It's just like people are spending probably 3 times as much per batch of mead easily. Right. And if the feedback was, even close to subpar, just the hobby wouldn't be going anywhere. So it's so important that, you have the dedication to judging these meads like in a quality fashion. And I really appreciate you and all of your friends and staff and all the other mead judges that are out there that are judging these competitions, giving the really, really good feedback. I think that's really making the hobby move forward. And I think it's like an integral part of it. So
no, I would agree.
Appreciate that.
I've had one score sheet, for mead come back, and it's probably some of the best feedback I have had of just about any competition I've entered, including, beer and all. So it was great. They were able to pinpoint a lot of things too. And I go back and I taste the mead, and I'm starting to be able to pick that stuff out. It helps me train my palate. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's something that maybe we, haven't pointed out before, is that when you get that feedback and you still have some stock on hand, you can go back and taste it. And even if you weren't tasting it beforehand, after you have somebody trained like yourself, Gail, give you that feedback on like, oh, fermentation temperature, or, oxidation, or, what have you, nutrient additions, what have you, and be like, well, these are the flavors that I'm getting out of it. Maybe you should try doing this or that. You go back and taste it, and you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see where that's coming from, and I know through my process that I did X, so maybe next time I try doing something different.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad that it's useful, because that's that's what it should be. That mm-hmm. I think that when you enter a competition, it's not only for the medals, it's mm-hmm. not only for the score, it's for the feedback.
That's
Oh.
and that's
And,
all I
well, for
submitted
some
for.
people.
Yeah. With this
My,
being only my third mead, all I was looking for was feedback, and I got exactly what I wanted out of it. So
Good. Good. I was
My,
worried about this year. We changed the score sheet we were using, and we went to the score sheet for that NHC use for their final. Well, it used to be the second round. Now it's their only round. So it's there's sliders, and it's like pour to good,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And so you're not writing as much, but it forces you to address each aspect. And that was my issue with the long-handed ones, because at the end of the day too, people's handwriting gets pretty bad. But if they don't address each one of those items, like the esters, the fruit, all of those things, if they don't address them, then your feedback is subpar.
Yeah.
And so the feedback or the score sheet that we chose to use was the one that forces you to address each one of those. So I hope that, when people get their score sheets back, which actually they should have been able to at 7:00 on the 16th.
Yeah.
You can download them. I hope that it's valuable. I hope it was worth the $8, plus shipping.
yeah.
In fact, I don't even think we did
cheap.
shipping, right? We
No.
I dropped our stuff off at Bell's and somebody ran it up there. Do you know who took stuff up from Bell's this year? Gail?
It was Andy Zipser and Jeff Baloo.
And
Yeah.
so thank you to them. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't pay
that
shipping.
was kind of. I had offered to do that, but was told I could not take their opportunity to come to Bell's away from them. Right?
They really wanted to go out, and it was like, wow, if you really want to go to Bell's, it was like, that's a perfect opportunity. But yeah, they did the pickup out at Bell's, and they also did all the shipping entries at Adventures.
Cool.
Nice.
So it's fantastic.
I dropped my stuff off at Bell's, and I kind of went in there expecting the employees to go, Michigan Mead Cup, and look around and be like, are we taking entries for those, or were those supposed to go? And no, they're like, yep, we have a bunch of entries back here already. Like, yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
Ian's
had it all handled.
Yeah, Ian's doing really good with that.
Danny picked up the ones at Cadillac Straits. That was our other drop-off place, and Danny picked up a crap load over there too. I mean, just the number of bottles and trying to keep them from breaking in the car. And, Andy and Jeff had a fiasco on the way back from, I think it was from Adventures. I don't think it was from Bell's. And they had a car full of bottles, and the wheel came off. The whole wheel came off. And, Andy's quite upset, thinking, we lost some mead, but not one bottle broke. So, the people that do the pickups, they're pretty conscientious. It's not due to load that all in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a mule for Beer Cup and State Fair at the same time this year. So I had like 9 cases of beer in my truck. It was the most nerve-wracking thing because, again, I think I kept the cruise control on. I drove slow. I'm like, I get in an accident and I'm gonna get hung. When I get home. Yeah. And then the funny part was I got to one of the first drop off, and the guy that was like helping me unload the truck, I was like, no, I'll do it, because I knew, I had it like separated into Beer Cup and the other, and this guy was just trying to be helpful and started to grab cases, and I was like, freaking out there, like, don't touch the goddamn beer. All I need is a case of Beer Cup to get sent to State Fair, and yeah. It's nerve-wracking. So thank you, Annie, and who else did you say? Annie and
Jeff Baloo, her husband.
Jeff Baloo, all right,
yeah.
for Mule, and yeah, that's some stressful shit. So
yeah, and Danny.
Yeah.
Thanks, Danny.
Well, I think we're about at our time. We don't have a show next week, right? No show next week.
No show.
So I'm gonna be away, and then I think Brian's gonna try to go to a homebrew club meeting, South County. If you guys are in the Vicksburg area, South County meets next Monday at Distant Whistle, hopefully. So we'll be back the week after. We'll get the show posted shortly. And then just a reminder, I think we're targeting, I'm going to pull up my calendar now. So no show on the 8th. We'll be back on the 15th. But we're looking at the 22nd. We're going to have a holiday show. Gail, if you're interested, if you're down in the land of the internets, we're gonna just throw a link out to a bunch of people and see who wants to drop in and drink seltzer with us. And seltzer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're celebrating.
Screw your palate.
Hard seltzer.
Talk about Fruit Loops.
So we have a
Fruit Loop seltzer. You got to do it.
It's coming.
Now.
It's coming. We have a problem with seltzer, Gail. We've done a couple of seltzer shows. It's a thing, we've got to acknowledge it. Homebrewers are making it. It was very big in the COVID year. But for some reason, when Brian and I and Jordan has missed every seltzer, like we've done 2, and Jordan seems to have parental duties that night or some shit, and seltzer goes down like water. And so Brian and I wind up sitting here drinking 8 or 9 or 10 seltzers in the course of an hour, and then not really remembering the rest of the show.
I'll be here for this one.
So we thought it would be good as a holiday Thanksgiving show. We're just going to invite all our friends over. We're going to drink seltzers for a couple hours. So if you can, I'll keep you on that email, and feel free to drop in if you got internet.
Sure.
Or just tune in as we talk about the year and reminisce and bullshit about stories, and hopefully maybe even brew some Fruit Loop beer on the air or whatever when we drink seltzer. So right
awesome.
On. Well, thanks a lot, Gail, for coming. Again,
Really appreciate it.
This is technically your 3rd time on the show. We appreciate you sticking with us.
She's been with us
You're
the most then.
The most.
Yes.
Well, next to Brandon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like a unofficial co-host at this point, but
Yeah.
Wow, I'm honored.
Yeah, totally. You should be.
I am. Very.
But no, thanks a lot, and everybody else. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And have a great time.
Thanks, guys.
cheers, everyone. Thank you again, Gail.
Cheers.
Cheers.